I can guarantee that you're using observation blockers wrong. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to use them correctly. Let's get into the video. So first, I'm going to go over all of the operators that have observation blockers. These include Rook, Warden, Caveira, Cade, Maestro, Pulse, Alibi, Jaeger, and Ela. These are all of the operators that have the possibility to run observation blockers in their loadout. Now, just because an operator has observation blockers in their loadout doesn't mean you should actually use them. There are certain operators that you actually don't want to bring observation blockers on because they bring better secondary utility that you should be running instead. These operators include Warden for his Nitro Cell and his deployable shield, Cade for his Nitro Cell, Pulse for his Nitro Cell and deployable shield, and Ela for her deployable shield. These operators either bring deployable shields or Nitro Cells, which like I said are more valuable than the observation blockers because it blends with these operators' specific primary ability or playstyle. This leaves in the pool of people you should be using observation blockers with Rook, Caveira, Maestro, Alibi, and Jaeger. These are all 5 the operators that you should be running observation blockers on because I think it's actually better than any of the other options they have as secondary abilities. Now that I've gone over who should bring observation blockers, let's go over how to actually use them. The cool thing about this gadget specifically is you use it differently depending on what operator you're playing. With gadgets like barbed wire, proximity alarms, and impact grenades, you generally use the utility the exact same, and it doesn't really matter who you're playing. But with observation blockers, you can pair that secondary gadget with the primary gadget that that operator brings to strengthen your primary gadget. It's meant kind of as a supporting gadget. So all of the operators that I just went over that I said you could actually use observation blockers with, I'm going to tell you how to play individually. Let's get into it. Now, the way that you use Rook in terms of actually using the observation blockers is very, very simple, and I'm going to go over it right now. If you're ever wondering how to properly use observation blockers on an operator, just think about what the operator is good at and how the observation blockers can better help you be good at that job. So for instance, Rook is really good at holding long angles and challenging long-range gunfights. That's why I brought you onto Bank, because it's a very long-range map and there's a lot of long angles like this one. Now, how would I use observation blockers to better help this playstyle? Well, I would want to cut off long lines of sight so that drones couldn't possibly drone me and see what angle I'm holding, so I could get a surprise angle onto anybody that's rappelling onto one of these windows per se. There's a lot of drones that typically come into lobby, and you don't want them to be able to see you if you're holding a long angle from, let's say, the inside of Trump all the way onto these windows where Zero players commonly shoot a camera, or all the way onto these windows where Habana players commonly go, or Cali players commonly go to get this wall. Either way, I don't want them to be able to drone me, so I would put observation blockers like right here, so that it covers all of these windows from being able to see into all of these windows. And then I would put a second one like right here, and it does the exact same thing for the windows over there, or any drones that are down in lobby here. And then you just put your third one right here. And now all of this is covered for any drones that are possibly in lobby. So it allows you to rotate without getting droned. It allows you to sit in Banana without getting droned. It allows you to sit in Trump without getting droned. And you can still be right here while they walk into lobby because they can't see you on a drone, and you can get free kills right here, right? Very, very effective way to use observation blockers and play Rook. Another good example, let's say you're playing inside of Elevator and you want to hold this long angle in case anybody swings out of stock or swings the janitor hallway. You can put an observation blocker right here. This will block any drones that are able to see you while you're sitting back here. Or if you want to be a bit safer, you can put it up closer, right on this double door here. It does still the exact same thing, and now you can peek off of this wall instead, and they can't drone you unless they get their drone right here, right? So you can use these to cover long angles that you're holding as Rook, because that is Rook's primary job, is spawn peeking or holding super long angles. The next operator is Caveira. Now with Caveira, you're a lot more roam-like, and you're not necessarily holding long angles, so the way that you're going to use her observation blockers for yourself is quite different. So let's take Theme Park for example, arguably Caveira's best map. The way you're going to use these observation blockers is to stop people from being able to drone where you are on the roam as easily. So throne is where the bomb site is, and I'm playing Cav and roaming upstairs. The way you play Cav is you have a bunch of rotates for yourself, right? Like one here, you have head holes maybe. You just bring your shotgun and you open up a bunch of stuff so that you have a lot more flank routes than the attackers would expect, allowing you to flank easier. That's just how you play Cav. Look, I made a rotate there, here. I even opened up the hatch here. There's a rotate here, all kinds of stuff. And then you make head holes too for the exact same reason. You open up new angles, head holes there, rotate here, head holes there, there's head holes in initiation, there's just all kinds of stuff. So putting observation blockers on head holes like this, so they can't necessarily see a long angle in here, is great, because then when they drone vault and you're sitting in here waiting for them to walk in cache so you can swing and shoot them, they can't see that you're sitting in here, right? Because you have an observation blocker that blocks these head holes, but you're still able to swing off of them if you need to. With Cav, you want a lot of head holes so you can open up new angles, so you can put observation blockers in front of the actual head holes, just like this. Sorry, I messed it up. And now they can't drone this out and see that the head holes are here. right? Or you can put it, I guess, a little bit more to the left to fully cover the head holes, but you get the general idea. They will not be able to drone this out and see that there's head holes here. So then when they walk into the door, I'll be on these head holes right here, ready to shoot them. Or if I don't have head holes, I can have like a little punch hole right here that I can easily shoot them from, right? And it's blocked by an observation blocker, so they can't drone it out. Either way, you can use observation blockers to block your rotates, to block head holes, to block punch holes, and just overall to block a lot more aggressive angles that they wouldn't know existed if an observation blocker wasn't there actually blocking it. Another cool thing, let's say that you're flanking top arcade and they're watching a flank cam, right? Someone on the attacking team died and now they're watching flank cams. Typically, someone will have a flank cam in top arcade. You can put an observation blocker right here so that when they're on the flank cam, they can't actually see when you're flanking right here. And now you can get a flank for absolutely free. Or you can sit here and shoot the flank cam and you have a silencer on your gun. Now they don't know where you shot the flank cam from, so they can't call it out. All they see is, hey, there's one flanking, but now you have all these angles, all these rotates, so they couldn't possibly know where you're flanking from, and you can get some easy kills with it. So using observation blockers to block rotates, block head holes, or to block flank routes is an outstanding way to use observation blockers on Caveira. Next, we're going to go over Maestro, and I brought you onto Consulate to give you an example. So if you're playing Maestro, you can put cameras in places kind of like this, where it's very hard for attackers to get to and they couldn't possibly knife it, but you don't want them to be able to drone it because one, a lot of the times attackers will have a Gone 6 or grenades or EMP grenades that can easily destroy it. So in order to make it more hidden, you can put observation blockers in front of it. So let's say the wall right here is reinforced and they open it. If I put an observation blocker right here, it will block the Maestro camera from being seen on any drones. Now, I think I actually need to put the Maestro cam a bit lower because the observation blocker is only so tall, which is again something you should be conscious of. But if I put it like more right here, they're not going to be able to see that. The observation blocker completely covers it. So now if they walk in through the breach or they drone in through the breach, they're not going to find that camera and they're going to wonder why it's there whenever they're planting because they weren't able to drone it out before. The same thing goes for like a camera right here. Or let's say like we put a camera on the floor so that you can shoot under the car, right? Either way, put a camera like right here. And then you just put an observation blocker like behind the tire. So this does one of two things. Yes, it does block the Maestro camera from being seen by any drones, but also if there's an observation blocker here, a lot of the times when they drone in, they're going to think, hey, there's an attacker behind this car. They're not going to think there's a Maestro camera here. So it makes them actually wary of a position and ghost pressure on the attackers that they wouldn't normally have tried to be conscious of in the first place. But now I have an observation blocker in front of both of my Maestro cameras, and I'm still able to shoot out of the Maestro camera and kill any drones. That's another cool thing too, is people will use Flores to try to kill Maestro cameras. If there's observation blockers in front of your cameras, you're going to be able to see that Flores drone a lot sooner than the Flores drone will be able to see you, allowing you to just go off the camera and zap it. The same thing goes for normal drones, Bravo drones, Twitch drones, etc. It doesn't really matter. You're also able to do that head hole strategy that I talked about earlier, where you put an observation blocker behind the head holes. Now they can't drone and see if anybody are playing these head holes, so they're going to come in and you're going to easily be able to quick peek, pre-fire, and kill them with your LMG, which is super powerful. Here's one other strategy you can use as Maestro with observation blockers. So let's say that you're sitting inside of this closet on your Maestro cams right here, or maybe you're crouched on the wall because you want to be able to shoot people that walk in yellow with the information from your Maestro camera. You're really exposed to anybody droning you through bottom spiral and then running down spiral and killing you. So one thing you can do is put an observation blocker on the spiral door. This makes it to where they won't be able to drone you and see that you're on this reinforcement. So now they're walking in either blind or they're going to try to drone a different way, which allows you to get information of like, hey, they're droning me, let me move, and it can keep you alive in a lot of scenarios. Next operator is Alibi, and I've brought you into Chalet, which is arguably her best map, to show you how to use observation blockers correctly with her. I think Alibi has the most potential when it comes to an operator using observation blockers, because the one thing that sucks about her ability is all they have to do is drone it out, and now they know that the ability is there. It's kind of useless because a lot of times they just won't shoot it. So what most players have had to resort to is putting it on angles like this that are very commonly pre-fired. They're resorting to attackers literally pre-firing your clones because attackers won't fall for them in any other way. Observation blockers completely change this up. So like I said, not only is it important to have observation blockers that you put down like this, where it covers very long angles that drones commonly push through so that they can't see you playing up here, but also it's good because you can hide an alibi clone behind your observation blockers, meaning they can't drone this clone either. So when they peek the window and they peek the door and they see a clone there that they didn't drone before, they're going to think it's a real player, so they're going to shoot it, giving you free information. Now, information is only good if you're doing something off of it. So if you're going to use a strategy, you need to be playing off of your alibi clones right next to them. So what I do is I'll put a clone here. I'll put an observation blocker behind this reinforcement, as well as a clone behind the head hole here. And then because I already have 2 that I swing off of, I give 1 set to my teammates. So I put 1 on the head holes here. Alibi clone deep behind the half wall right here. This one is more for your team to use, because a lot of times you'll have people sitting inside of office that are able to swing off of anybody that shoots the alibi clone coming up blue stairs or display hall. Or if you put the clone more right here, it also is being shot from the piano window, and your teammates can swing off of that too. These 2, however, are both for if somebody tries to shoot them through the K9 double window. So if someone's on that window or on that door and they shoot this clone, I can stand here and shoot the person that's being pinged because I have information off of the pings. Or because I have an observation blocker blocking the clone with these holes, whenever they drone out through the window, they're not going to see the clone there. And then whenever they peek the window, they're going to see the clone, they're going to shoot it, and then I'm still right here able to shoot them based off the info, or I can wrap around right here and shoot them based off the info. Either way, you want to be playing off of at least 2 of your clones with observation blockers in front of them as alibi, immediately able to swing and kill anybody that is being currently pinged. And that is it for all of the operators, and how to specifically use observation blockers for certain operators. Now, you can use observation blockers specific to the operator, like I've just shown you, but you can also use observation blockers in a default way if you're not necessarily going to be playing off of the utility that the observation blockers are protecting. This default way that I'm talking about is using them like a castle barricade, where it's used to cut off long lines of sight for drones so your teammates can hide, kind of like we talked about with Rook. You can also use them for your teammates and their gadgets as well, hiding head holes, common rotates, and many other things. Let's say you have an alibi that brought impacts instead, but you have observation blockers, you can use them to hide your teammates' alibi clones. So it doesn't necessarily need to be used just by yourself. You can use it to help teammates. But I hope this gave you a basic understanding of what you might be doing wrong with this gadget, as well as what you can do to improve and use them better. If you enjoyed this video, check out my next video where I talk about why Echo is going to replace Valkyrie and why I think he is better. And that's it. My name's Alka, and I'll see you on the next video. Later.